Well, that was a lot of business to concur.
We're going to take you away now from the UNC board committee meeting that is happening for UNC colleges and universities to a live press conference now because of severe weather. This is a press conference taking place in the Frankfort area. Actually, it's right there at the state capital of Kentucky. Governor Beshear having an update on the weather impact. Let's go to that live here on Live Impact News on WCNC+.
They're closed. There should be really no reason to go downtown right now. We're looking at also, last night we set a curfew. We made an executive decision to have a curfew from dusk till dawn. We're going to do so again tonight in the interest of public safety, protecting private property, and also just allowing our crews to operate efficiently. And I know that's going to be an inconvenience for some of you in Frankfort. I understand that, and we do appreciate your patience, your understanding during this event. But we're going to get through this in a matter of days. Just stay vigilant, stay cautious. We don't want to lose any more of our community members to this water, and just ask that everybody continue to cooperate, show some kindness, compassion to everyone else. We're going to get through this one stronger than ever. Thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to Franklin County Judge Executive Michael Mueller.
Thank you, Mayor. Judge Executive of Franklin County, Michael Mueller. First and foremost, I want to thank the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Emergency Management, and everybody in this room. I wish the public could see what you all are doing. It's a huge service that I don't think people understand. So in Franklin County, this is the first one we've been through. You know, the governor always talks about Eastern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, the tornadoes, the floods. We've been sheltered from that. And so this is uncharted territories. You know, it's kind of one of those things when you run for office, you don't think about national disasters. You know, it's like, what do you do? What do you do? But I'm appreciative to have a governor and Team Kentucky that steps up and helps our local emergency management to figure out what to do. So it's been very helpful. I do want to let everybody know, so everyone's in a stage now that, hey, sun's shining, you know, things are good, the river's going down, we have no problems. This is when problems happen, like the governor spoke of. This is when people driving around the barricades, they want to get the selfies, they want to get the pictures. That's when people get hurt. And so we can't emphasize enough to stay at home, you know, help your neighbors. Don't be out if you don't have to be out. You know, we're getting a lot of calls for people wanting to volunteer, people wanting to send donations. So I was just talking to the emergency management director here. We will have our first site open at 1 o'clock today at Lakeview Park in Franklin County. We've been unloading semis of water, some food, things like that. So I'm very appreciative of National Guards helping out. They helped out a lot yesterday, knocking on doors, making sure that people in the areas had to evacuate. So can't thank them enough. I know the donations, we've had a lot of people reach out from other states saying, how do we help your community? How do we help? So we'll be getting that information out on the state's information and our local information. Again, can't stress enough. Don't drive around. Don't be out if you don't have to. We're not out of the woods yet. You know, people think just because we're crested, we're out of the woods, but there's still, you know, until we get to about 29 feet in Franklin County, we're not going to take a breath. So as the mayor and I were leaving today, they had probably 40 people in our emergency command center being briefed about what happens next. How do we get help to these people? How do we start rebuilding our community? You know, I mean, we probably have at least 50 homes, you know, that are potentially destroyed. So, you know, what happened was the river kept coming up. You know, we went to bed one night, they said it was at 45 feet. You wake up the next day, oh no, now it's 47. Now it's 49 and a half. And that's when it really got real. So people moved their things to the second level. And then by the time they woke up at 5:30 in the morning, it was too late. So they had to get out. We had a lot of boat rescues. I think there was 15 people that had to be rescued in Franklin County by boat. So I just want to stay safe. I want to thank Team Kentucky again for all the support, and you all keep doing the good work that you're doing. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. And we join you again from the Emergency Operations Center. It seems a little bit way too often for these events to keep occurring, but here we are again in the same situation as we see the widespread damage from across the state. And you're hearing from the reports here from Frankfort, from our county judge executives and our mayors, and we're hearing those same reports that these gentlemen are sharing with you from across the state. This is a very widespread event. We knew that it was going to be that way, and I want to say that the messaging that was sent out from the communications team here and throughout the media outlets that we shared with for many days before this event happened probably has been very impactful to saving many Kentuckians. People had a chance to be warned that it was a good idea to identify a place to go, to get some things out of the way, to make a plan. And all the things that we messaged 5 days in advance, I think has led to a more successful operation this time. Less fatalities. There's plenty of destruction. There's plenty of homes inundated. There's been plenty of damage from this storm. However, you see that the fatalities are a little lower, and that's something to celebrate. The fact that people have listened to that and have taken that heed to those warnings. I think that the messaging and the team that provides that messaging through our communications team and working through all the media outlets has been successful. Now, it's very tragic. We've already lost 2. And we have another person that we're looking for, as the governor reported. So there are still tragedies in this, and I don't make light of those. They're very tragic. However, it is good that the messaging was effective. So we continue to do those things, and we provide these updates for that piece. We've hit crest here at Frankfort, but there is still downrange of that up the river. We're going to deal with water still coming to rise over at Lockport, which is above Carrollton, and we're looking at that happening overnight tonight. So as we still have friends and Kentuckians downstream of this area here in Frankfort that still need to be paying attention. They have not hit crest yet. Yesterday, there were talks of 57 in the models. It looks like it's a little lower than that this morning. I'm seeing like 53.8. Those river models change as the flow and the gauges give us new information. We're always trying to keep up with the most accurate information, and those are public-facing websites if anyone wants to see any of that. What I would tell you is we're very busy at the EOC, as you would expect us to be, helping your local heroes. You have communities full of people that are working very hard on your behalf, and our job here is to support them, and we report on that all the time. All of your local officials are in direct connection with my emergency manager, area managers, and along with this EOC. So that's the way we want it to work, and we try to get better and better each time we go through one of these tragic events. And I think that while there'll never be good enough, we're always going to try to be better. We're quicker at getting those water resources out to you when you need them, the commodities that you need to sustain your communities. Our sheltering operations began very early on with the Red Cross and the Commonwealth Sheltering Program that we run out of emergency operations. But we've got our FEMA partners in very early. They're very helpful by getting those urban search and rescue teams in and around the state. We positioned them as widespread as we possibly could, putting teams where we thought those areas of concern would be, and we saw that to be very helpful. Getting an emergency declaration that quick is unprecedented. We were able to do that 2 times in a row to use those federal urban search and rescue teams in the Commonwealth, along with partners from other states. And when you look at who comes to help, it's the same people that we go help. And it's neighbors helping neighbors and states helping states. And so many of our local teams have moved around the state. Lexington sent teams out, Louisville sent teams out, Bowling Green. Everybody's been very helpful, and there's so many I couldn't begin to mention them all. I heard Russell County was over in Gary County. So being in this role, I cannot even begin to thank all the people across the Commonwealth that have come to the aid of other communities that are really suffering during this event. And I look through the notes that my staff write up, and I just read over them, and it's almost more than you can even mention in a short press conference as we try to share what's going on. But what I want you to know is the state has water and bottled water available for distribution to the counties that are without water. We have MREs, we have emergency food supplies. So we're not in a position where we can't help support that. The National Guard is quick to come to the rescue to provide that relief effort by those distribution centers in those local communities. So while this is a bad situation and many people have had lots of damages, I've heard reports of counties with 100 homes here, 50 homes there, 200 homes over here. And that work has to be done to put that back together again. We see that work is there. We truly know that the work that you all have done as local leaders in your communities, as media representatives spreading this message, we're all on the same team. We're trying to save people's lives. We're trying to sustain that operation in those communities where people are not so impacted that they can't survive. And I think we've done a decent job of that. While there is still room for improvement, this team is exceptional, and I can't say enough about the 100 or so people that are surrounding us right now. We're partnered up with people from Red Cross. We have KU officials. We have FEMA officials. We have all kinds of people here from many agencies across state government that have all come together to one place to serve the Commonwealth of Kentucky and support the local officials where you need us to be at. And I can't say enough about that, and it's time to say thank you. So very much. Thank you very much. Secretary.
Jim Gray, Transportation Secretary. I'm going to shrink wrap my comments because the governor needs to get to these questions quickly. But let me first give a shout out to our Transportation Cabinet employees who are still on duty, of course. Let me put this in a little bit of context. There are, as of 8 o'clock this morning, the governor mentioned it, there are 538 roads, state roads, still underwater or closed. That compares to just a little over a month ago in February in that event, where our peak was 350 roads closed. So at our peak in this event, more than 550, so more than 200 more. That gives the context for where we are. So we're still not out of the woods yet. The message, turn around, don't drown. We've had reports of, modest reports, just a few, but of some folks actually moving barricades. Don't do that. Don't do that at all. Those barricades are there for a reason. For road closures, go to, if you're trying to find out what roads are closed, go to goky.ky.gov. You can find it there. Governor mentioned some good news in those 538 closures include, though, that our interstates, Western Kentucky Parkway, that was closed, is reopened in Ohio, and I-65 in LaRue County reopened. Now, we do still have a number of our major roads that are closed. Let me make another point, and then I'll turn it back over to the governor. Our licensing offices, along with state offices, today are closed. Our in-person offices, they will be, your appointments will be rescheduled, and so please take advantage of that, and please take advantage of going online for renewals. Governor?
And just to end that point, if you go online for renewals, if you'll go see an optometrist to get your eyes checked, then you can skip all those lines that we right now have at our DMVs. I want to finally give a big thank you, which I should have done, to President Donald Trump, as well as Secretary Noem, for getting this disaster declaration through so quickly. Those that follow me know I've had a number of differences of opinion on policies with this president, but in response to our natural disasters, he has been there every time. He's given us everything we need. His administration's been very responsive, and for that I'm grateful. If you're going to criticize on some things, you got to give credit where credit is due. I also want to thank FEMA for being here. The way that they have operated after the February floods in eastern Kentucky is some of the best that I've ever seen, both in the emergency response and in the individual assistance. And I say thank you to both President Trump, Secretary Noem, and FEMA for that, because we're going to be applying for individual assistance as well as public assistance here. We're going to need those people to stay in the Commonwealth, and they are doing some of the best work that I've seen. And with 14 federally declared disasters since I became governor 5.5 years ago, we have a lot of context to base those comparisons on. So thank you to everybody from FEMA that I know you left your families to be here in the Commonwealth with us. And for many of you, this is the third, fourth, or fifth time. Feel free to pay taxes. Stay in our Commonwealth. But no, we're really grateful that you all are here. With that, we have 8 journalists on the line. We'll take one question from each so everybody can get back to doing this hard work. We'll start with Stan Ingold from WEKU.
Thank you. The mayor of Carrollton put out a Facebook Live video on Sunday saying that he got word from State Emergency Management about 10 gates at the Dix Dam being accidentally opened. And he has since apologized and said there was miscommunication. But, you know, he was urging people all along the Kentucky River corridor to evacuate. Where did this information come from that he had received? And how do you prevent something like this from happening and causing people to panic?
Yeah, we're working to get to the bottom of this one. You know, I think KU has said they were operating under their plan, but we need to make sure that we're all operating under one plan that benefits every single community that can be impacted. So one of the things that we're going to need to do through emergency management here is sit down and have a conversation with KU to make sure that there is direct communication about how many of those gates are being opened and about what the potential impact can be. That's one area. where we need to do better. And on the communication side, we need to do better. But let me tell you, the mayor of Carrollton was only operating under trying to help his people and others the best he could. This has happened to me at different times. You get information in an emergency and you try to push it out. It's not always accurate, though you wish it was. But if you're always erring on the side of protecting people, which I think he most certainly was, that's the way we always want to err. But we always learn at least one area that we need to take that next step and that next step. And so with that dam and those locks, especially ones that aren't directly under federal or state supervision, we're going to need a more direct relationship in the future. Tom Latek from Kentucky Today.
Good morning, everybody. 10:30 now. We are just cutting away from that live press conference out of Kentucky in the state capitol with Governor Andy Beshear following some severe weather as they prepare for more. We want to cover our own weather and bring in meteorologist Chris Mulcahy. First day on the morning show, full time or whatever, that role. Filling in for Larry Sprinkle.
Now, it still feels like an honor. Today flew by. Talk about first day by fire, just because it's been nonstop. But I will say, just because I don't have the jacket on, my sleeves are rolled up. That's usually not a good sign for meteorologists. That's not the case. There is a slight chance for a spin-up tornado, but I don't want everyone to be alarmed. Oh my goodness, the sleeves are rolled up. So just want everyone to know that first off.
Okay. And then Kentucky, they, like the governor said, not out of the woods yet, but they are still bracing for it. It seems like they've just, got it on the chin this season.
Yeah, and the worst part about any flood event is when it doesn't stop, and that's exactly what they had. If you do recall, the reason why Helene was as bad as it was not because of Helene itself. It was the 2 days of rain that preceded it. That's why I call it a predecessor rain event. For this one, it's nowhere near Helene's status, but it was still 3 days, 72 hours of rain that I saw some rain totals up to about 12 to 13 inches of rain. That's exceptional. And a lot of rivers south of Lexington got up to about a record crest. I know one of them specifically was a record 47 and the previous record was 46. And you're seeing that all over the place, that they're starting to come down, but it really is a bell curve. So it takes a while, it takes about a day for it to start to really come down. And then sometimes usually up to 2 to 3 days before things even go back to normal, and then after that, the cleanup really begins.
Okay, so this weather is headed our way, or we're just getting those frontal bands?
Yeah, and so the rain that we're dealing with right now is this system. It just finally got going because it was a stationary front or a quasi-stationary front, so it was kind of swiggling, wiggling around. And here, that's what you're seeing right here. And notice all those little green polygons, those shapes. Those are all the aerial flood warnings that remain. So that shows that pretty much everything that's a river has some sort of swell to it, and that just shows how astronomical this event was. For us, it's only a one-day event, which is actually good news for us because we need rain because of the drought status and the wildfires that we've been dealing with. And behind this, we're going to see a big shift as far as a cool down, but let's live in the moment, shall we? I want to focus in on one little cell here. So we're going to go, it's not a severe thunderstorm warning, but this little guy right here is showing signs that could have some wind gusts up to about 50 miles per hour. It's not exceptional right now, so we're going to actually kind of look into it. Let me stop here. So we are seeing a little bit of brightness that's associated with this. So what this represents is that we are starting to see some winds mixed down to the surface. So you see 56 miles per hour. It's not exactly 56, but where the center of the radar is, because this one's CLT, that's still about 100 miles away. This is showing that at least 40 to 50 mile per hour winds are mixing to the surface. So that is the most recent one that we're starting to monitor, that this is really the signs that we could have some severe thunderstorm warnings starting now until about 3 o'clock. So that's what we were calling earlier this morning, just letting you know that it has begun. Also, we've been monitoring a lot of the weather that's been along this line. So if you scan down here to the south, look closely, notice what pops up. Those are tornado warnings. The best news I have for us is I think the worst of the weather is going to be well southeast of Charlotte and more primarily in Georgia and South Carolina. But we're always going to keep a closer look at the line. One thing about today, it's still humid, so we have that storm fuel. Number two, we have a front that pushes through the area, and that's going to elevate things. But one thing that happened during our WCNC Plus stream, I think it was right at 8 o'clock exactly, the orange was added to this map. So the yellow represents just a low chance for severe storms, but now it looks primarily from Chirac, Rockingham, parts of Richmond County over to Chesterfield County. We have a moderate risk, and I'll show you that here in the future cast. Carlene, I believe you had a picture of the Dallas camera. Yes.
Sure do.
All right, let's bring it up. Okay, so you can see those dark and ominous storm clouds. If I was in the Weather Center, I would change the joystick and really point it towards that storm system. That storm system is going to move just south of Dallas, that little line of storms that I was pointing out. I think we're going to see a lot of bursts of heavy rain. So if you're talking about heavy rain that you're going to head out the door anytime soon, you can bring us with you because we're also streaming on our app as well. But it's really, I would say, now until about 2 o'clock. That's where we're going to have the biggest pulses of the heaviest rain for the Charlotte area. Then I think we hit a little bit of a lull, and then it starts to come back. But we can also show you that on our future cast. So if we do have a severe thunderstorm, what are the risks? It's mainly going to be a chance for some gusty winds still mixed down to the surface. I think we're going to see gusts up to 40 miles per hour regardless of any severe thunderstorms over the next few hours. But there is a chance for a spin-up tornado as we continue to use that fancy term QLCS. And then also because the amount of rain, I think we see up to an inch, some areas 1 to 2 plus. We do have a low risk for excessive rainfall, aka some minor flooding. I like to call this nuisance flooding. That's where you have some lower lying roads that can be underwater. Sometimes some drains are overwhelmed from time to time. This isn't life-threatening at this point, nor do I think we're going to have anything close to that. Okay, so here's what it looks like. For our future cast, we're seeing light to moderate rain, but I think we're going to see an expansion of the storms really southeast of us. So Charlotte, I don't anticipate anything severe. You might have some stray gusts that get up to about 40 to 50, but all in all, this is a rain event for you. The reason why the orange was added is because that area saw a little bit of sunshine even. That area has everything that's the right ingredients that you mix into a pot that'll allow for some stronger thunderstorms. So that's why by 3 o'clock, you're seeing a lot more activity down there, southeast of Lancaster, right around Chirac, and then things start getting going further off towards the east. Meanwhile, behind that, just rain on and off, rain on and off. This is not a day that's going to help you get things done, because I know personally if I had today off, I'd probably be on the couch and I'd be binge watching whatever I want. People keep talking about White Lotus. Today's a great day to watch White Lotus if you're waiting to do that. And then on the back edge of this system, when the front finally passes, I think it's really between about 8 and midnight. That's the last of the rain. And then we're going to see a little bit of a cool down. So a closer look at this system. This is actually a really good depiction. So oftentimes you can have fronts, but then you can have little lows. So a low is going to rotate counterclockwise. So you have this flow anyways. Meanwhile, the front is pushing this way, and you have winds that are coming out of the south. That looks like a lot as far as arrows go, but that's the making of wind shear. Whenever you have one direction up above our heads, one direction at the surface, that's a lot of twists to the atmosphere. So I think as this low gets further southeast of Charlotte, that's where we're going to have a better risk for severe storms. So it's definitely, I think, east of Charlotte has the highest potential. Charlotte's close enough, so we're still watching it, so don't worry about that. We'll keep you updated here on WCNC Plus, also on WCNC itself. But then once this clears, it's actually a secondary front that rolls through, tries to give a little spurt of snow up in the mountains, and then when all this is said and done, we're looking at some much cooler temperatures, and then this muggy air that shouldn't be here will be gone, because so I dug into the data. It took me way too long to actually find this, but the last time that we were this muggy feeling in April was 2017. So it's been 8 years since we've been this muggy this early. So this is not normal, obviously. We should average about 71 degrees. That humid air is going to disappear. Good news. The winds are still going to be breezy. April's still one of the windier months that we have here, but our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast will show that highs are only going to be in the 60s going forward. We have the lower 60s, low of 35 degrees on Wednesday. So as I mentioned earlier in our stream, around 9 o'clock, could have a little bit of frost. Now, winds need to be perfectly still. Frost is a fickle creature. We're back to 71 degrees before we see another system that rolls through. But if you have any weekend plans, I know it's only Monday and you shouldn't do this to yourself, but if you have plans, looks like it's going to be dry and a decent weekend overall.
That's what Mondays are about, though.
Yes.
You know, you're done with the weekend. It's going to get you through the week to look forward to a very lovely weekend, it seems.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty pumped about this because we deserve a good weekend, but then also I had a great time in the 80s, but I also don't like to jump to summer that quickly. So what I have
no
to
need to rush.
Yeah, what I have to tell is now weather is all about perspective. In my opinion, there's no such thing as bad weather. It's just you can poorly prepare for the weather. You can take advantage of it in every situation, but when you hit 88, 87 degrees, that 62-degree high is going to be rough. That 35-degree low is going to be rough because we actually had back-to-back mornings of record warm lows. We had back-to-back days of record-tying highs. So this is going to be a little shocking out of the system, returning back a little bit, even cooler than where we should be, but this is good. The rain that we have today is good. So overall, I think that we're checking a lot of good boxes.
All right. Well, we like that. We just the whole soaky Monday, White Lotus day.
There it is.
You
yeah.
can go home this afternoon and just.
I personally have never seen the show.
Me neither.
But everyone is talking about it today.
I know.
So that's why I brought it up. So maybe people was like, "Oh no, don't tell me." And I was like, "I know nothing, so don't worry about it. I'm not going to spoil anything."
Jon Snow as well. All right. Chris Mulcahy bringing us the very latest here in the Live Impact studio. Let's take you back out to Kentucky with Governor Beshear talking about the after effects here now because of severe weather. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC+.
County and city roads across the Commonwealth and how much those add up. So there is a huge amount of work to be done. How long it takes to get them open depends on what the issue is. If it is a rock or a mudslide caused by the saturation, it's getting the heavy equipment out there, getting it cleared off, but then making sure it's stable because you don't want cars traveling if we think that that's going to happen imminently again. If it's water, we got to wait. We got to wait for it to go down, and you just got to give it that time, and that's why those barriers are so important. So we'll continue to give updates, but anybody who lives in an area that got some of this flooding really should check that website before you travel to know the direction you need to go to. And remember, if you approach that water, even if you're stressed about that thing you need to be at, turn around. Call whoever it is you were supposed to see, reschedule, let them know you got to go a different direction and it's going to take longer. But, you know, we've lost 2 people, including a child, and we just don't want to lose anybody else. And it's that decision to not drive through that water that helps make sure we all get through this and get through it together. Thank you to everybody for watching. We'll continue to provide updates throughout the day on social media and other means. Thanks to all the leaders behind me, but thanks to everybody in this EOC and in every single county that's working to protect our people. Thanks.
A press conference there from Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear on the extreme weather that they are seeing and preparing for the after effects and some of those flood zones that Chris talked about. If I've learned anything from our Mets, it's, turn around, don't drown when you see any potential water. It only takes, I believe, 1 inch or 6 inches to move a vehicle. So it might seem like you can get through it, but you can't.